Hi everyone, and welcome to P is for Psych. Today we're going to be diving into some behaviour modification concepts and how they might be used to get your kids to clean up after themselves. We're going to do a brief overview on the core concepts, and then we might be able to dig into some of these a bit deeper in some future videos. None of what we discuss here today is professional medical advice. Okay, I'm just a guy who is sharing some information about some topics that I really hope can help in some way. But what I will do is share some links down in the description to some great resources on these behaviour modification concepts and how they can be applied to child behaviours, so you can take a look for yourself, dig a bit deeper, and like I said, hopefully we can explore them a bit more in some future videos. Now, change is hard. The older your kids are, the harder bad habits are to break. So the younger you get your kids started with these positive habits, the easier it is. But once bad habits are there, it can take a little more work to reverse it. So please remember, be kind to yourself and be kind to your kids. Like I said, change is hard. So that can also mean stressful, but persevere and you should see some results. First things first, we need to understand a little more about these concepts before we can apply them. Behaviour modification is a psychological approach to changing behaviours using learning principles like modelling or reinforcement, extinction, and sometimes punishment. It's focused on identifying and altering environmental factors or stimuli that promote desirable behaviour, and reduce unwanted behaviours with these structured techniques. So firstly, modelling, it's quite simple. Monkey see, monkey do. If you want your kids to clean up after themselves, you're going to need to lead by example. The old do as I say, not as I do, it's not going to cut it. Kids pick up on actions much more than words. If you're constantly telling them to clean, but your own space looks like a tornado just hit it, then they're going to be wondering why they should bother. So instead, make tidying a visible routine part of your day. Show them how it's done, whether it's making a habit of putting things away, celebrating the small wins, or even turning the weekly cleanup into a team effort. When they see you making it a priority, they're far more likely to follow suit. And you need to set some clear and reasonable expectations. Put it on a whiteboard or print it out, stick it on the fridge, pop it on their bedroom door. This sets the scene for what's expected. So if it isn't done, they know that they haven't kept up their end of the bargain, and for every action, there is a consequence. Next, after setting a good example, depending on what stage you're at, you may need a mix of reinforcement and extinction. Reinforcement is also a simple concept. A behaviour happens, and the consequence that follows makes it more likely to happen again. The consequence could be praise, it could be a treat, it might even be an activity that your child enjoys. So maybe you tell them, if you clean your room, we'll play your favourite game. Or tidy up before bed and I'll read you your favourite bedtime story. These are examples of positive reinforcement, where we're adding something enjoyable to encourage the behaviour to continue. Now, reinforcement comes in two forms, positive and negative. Don't think of them as good and bad, but rather plus and minus. Positive reinforcement is when we're adding something to increase the behaviour. And negative reinforcement is when we're removing something unpleasant to encourage that habit to continue. Maybe nagging is enough of an annoyance that stopping the reminders might be a reward in itself. If you clean up your room without me having to ask, I won't nag you or pester you. So if you tidy up your bed before you go to sleep, then you won't have to clean it up in the morning before you go to school. No one likes to clean in the morning. That's negative reinforcement, removing something undesirable to reinforce a certain behaviour. The right mix of reinforcement can help cement cleaning up as a natural part of their routine instead of making it a battle every night. Now, remember, action, consequence. So good behaviour, reward. Bad behaviour, no reward, or in some cases, maybe punishment. But punishment is a last resort, and most people really misunderstand the concept of punishment. Let's talk about extinction first. Sometimes the best way to handle a bad habit is to stop giving it any attention. Extinction works by removing reinforcement for unwanted behaviour. If your child has gotten used to whining and complaining and ignoring the cleanup requests because eventually they know that they'll get out of doing it, or maybe it gets them some attention, you want to cut off that cycle. For example, if they leave their toys out and expect you to tidy it up, don't do it for them. If they whine about cleaning and usually try and negotiate, stop engaging with it. Don't engage with the whining, no arguing, no bargaining. Just calmly stick to the expectations. That's why we set those clear, reasonable expectations. And eventually when they realize that the messy habits are no longer going to lead to an easy way out, they'll start shifting their behavior. The trick is stay consistent, okay? At first, they're likely to push harder just to see if you're going to break. Now, once they see that the old habits aren't working anymore, it will start to fade away. That is extinction in action. Helping bad habits disappear by making sure they don't get rewarded. Now, let's talk about punishment. Before we do, I want to be clear, punishment is not about harsh consequences, okay? It's not about making kids feel bad, it's about teaching. Helping kids to understand that certain behaviours have outcomes that they won't like. Punishment in behaviour modification has quite a functional definition. It's about decreasing unwanted behaviours, and it also comes in two forms, positive and negative. Positive punishment, adding something unpleasant after a bad habit. So if they leave their toys on the floor, maybe they have to do extra chores, or taking away something they like when they don't follow expectations is negative punishment. So if they refuse to clean up, then they lose tablet time. Punishment is our last resort. It's the most negative tool in our tool set, and honestly, as I said, it's often misunderstood and misused. Punishment only works if it actually decreases the unwanted behavior. So if you're scolding your kids day after day for the same thing and nothing is changing, then that's not punishment. It's just modeling aggressive behavior for them and stressing yourself out. Remember, we punish a behavior, not a person. So discipline should teach and not shame. Instead of yelling or spanking, a more effective approach might be a timeout from screens or missing playtime, maybe even skipping bedtime stories. But let's be real, rewarding a child for cleaning up is going to be a much more positive interaction than a screaming match or an Xbox ban. That said, punishment works best when paired with reinforcement. Just punishing won't teach the right habits. If a child only gets consequences for not cleaning, if a child only gets consequences for not cleaning but never gets a reward for doing it, then they're just going to get frustrated, okay? So that's why the real trick is finding a balance, making sure that there's clear expectations, fair consequences, and plenty of encouragement when they do get it right. We need to make sure, like I said, we celebrate the small wins. Then we can build from there. So look, this has been an overview on behaviour modification, how we might be able to apply those to getting our kids to clean up after themselves. I hope I've spiked a bit of interest, and if you want to hit more, hit the like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description to get a bit more information, and I look forward to digging into some of these ideas a bit deeper with you on the next few videos. Have a good day.